Oftentimes, when it comes to a black woman speaking up and speaking out, it goes unheard until she dies. Then once she dies, then we go back and say, well, she was right and let's make a movie about it. See, I can give you their names, Eartha Kitt. I can give you their names, Hazel Scott. I can give you their names, Fannie Lou Hamer. I can give you their names, Hattie McDaniel. All of those women took a stand. And all of those women left here heartbroken, unhealthy, looking at a community saying, y'all know I'm right, but why won't anybody say anything?
What's up, YouTube? I hope you guys are doing so good. If you're new to my channel, I am So Gifted. Hey, welcome. So we got to talk about this heartbreaking story out of Georgia. A woman named Adriana Smith, she was declared brain back in February, and at the time, she was just 9 weeks pregnant. Doctors are now keeping her on life support to try to carry the baby to term. She's 21 weeks now. Y'all, this story is so crazy and disturbing. Let's go ahead and get into it. So Adriana Smith, a 30-year-old nurse and mother from Atlanta, was declared brain dead in February of 2025 after suffering multiple blood clots in her brain. At the time, she was approximately 9 weeks pregnant. Despite being legally deceased, doctors at Emory University Hospital kept her on life support to sustain the pregnancy, citing Georgia's abortion laws. Georgia's heartbeat law bans abortions once fetal cardiac activity is detected, typically around 6 weeks into pregnancy. Even though the Georgia law does not explicitly mandate life support in cases of brain death, the hospital basically interpreted this as requiring them to maintain somatic support to allow the fetus to develop. So you guys, this hospital just basically, took it upon themselves to keep her body functioning through life support so that they can, maintain this pregnancy. And keep in mind, they did not get consent from the family to do this. They did not give the family a choice. They are basically doing this on their own without the family's or even her mother's consent to do this.
A Metro Atlanta mother lies brain dead in a hospital room, being kept alive only because she's pregnant.
So her case is now raising a lot of new questions about Georgia's controversial heartbeat law. Adriana Smith's family says they've been forced to wait without a voice while doctors try to keep her body functioning long enough to deliver her baby.
11 Alive's Cody Alcorn is live outside of Emory Midtown, where Adriana was just moved hours ago. Cody, what have you learned about what's going on here?
Well, Jennifer and Ron, Adriana has been on a ventilator for the past 90 days. Now, as you mentioned, she was moved here just hours ago, so doctors can deliver her baby when it is time. Her family visits her every day, including her young son, who believes his mom is just sleeping. A crushing, emotional toll, as you can imagine. The family says it's been made worse because they have no say on what happens next. 30-year-old Adriana Smith was about 9 weeks pregnant when she started having bad headaches in February.
Enough to know that something was wrong.
April Newkirk says her daughter went to Northside Hospital for help.
They gave her some medication, but they didn't do any tests. They didn't do any CT scans. If they did, they would have caught it.
The next morning, Adriana's boyfriend noticed something was terribly wrong.
She was gasping for air in her sleep, gargling. More than likely it was blood. She was taken to Emory, Decatur, and then she was transferred here
to Emory University Hospital, where Adriana worked as an RN. Unfortunately, there was nothing doctors could do.
They did a CT scan and she had blood clots all in her head. So they had asked me if they could do a procedure to relieve them, and I said yes. And then they called me back and they said that they couldn't do it.
Doctors declared Adriana brain dead.
I feel as if somebody dropped the ball at the hospitals, and her boyfriend asked, please keep her. If she was kept at the hospital, we wouldn't be here.
Because of Georgia's heartbeat bill, which bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, her family says they weren't given any say in what happens next.
It's torture for me. I come here and I see my daughter breathing by the ventilator, but she's not there. And I'm touching her. And she has a son.
poor pregnancy.
Now, 21 weeks pregnant, her baby's health uncertain.
She's pregnant with my grandson, but my grandson may be blind, may not be able to walk, wheelchair bound. We don't know if he'll live once she has him.
A situation she says no one should be forced into.
It should have been left up to the family because I'm in my 50s, her dad is in his 50s, so we're going to have the responsibility with her partner to raise her sons, you know. And I'm not saying that we would have chose to terminate her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we should have had a choice. We should have had a choice.
It's likely doctors will not induce Adriana for at least another month. And it's not just the baby's health the family is worried about, also a medical bill they say that continues to grow every day.
You guys, this is so disturbing. And to hear Adriana's mom talk about how she got to watch her baby and she's not even there. She got to see her baby in the hospital every single day. And for her grandson to look at her, for her grandson to look at his mom and just think that she's sleeping. This is so confusing. They can't even grieve properly. This is horrible. And I really love how the mom mentioned that they didn't have any say on whether or not they wanted to keep this baby. Because like they said, Adriana was declared brain dead when she was 9 weeks. The oxygen that she did not have did not get to her baby. So that can lead to medical complications. And the baby can come out with special needs. And I'm going to be honest, I'm just speaking from my heart, you guys, that I'm not trying to offend anybody out there who has a special needs child or a special needs family member. But I'm going to be honest, and I'm speaking from my opinion. I feel like, you guys, if anybody gave you a choice, or if you had the choice on whether or not you wanted to raise a special needs child, I don't think anyone will take the choice and the chance on raising a special needs child. It is very hard, especially if the child is mentally and physically disabled. Like the mother said, they are in their 50s. Raising a child who has special needs, it is very, very difficult. There are so many complications that go with something like this. And I just feel like had they would have given, of course they will say, you know what, we just don't want to think we're going to automatically terminate her pregnancy. At least let us sit with it. At least let us all collectively make the decision on whether or not we want to bring a child in the world with these type of complications. Who wants to look at a child and see that they can't run, they can't play, they can't really enjoy life, they cannot eat on their own, they can't go to the bathroom on their own. The things that we take for granted every day, just waking up and being able to get out of the bed on our own, being able to get in a shower. Can you imagine taking care of a person who can't do that? Can you imagine? And I'm sure there are people out there that take care of kids and adults who are mentally and physically disabled. It is not easy. And I want to say this one more time because I know that some people out there have selective hearing. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing when someone has a special needs child or a special needs family member. Of course, if they're born like that, you're going to take care of them. You're going to do what you can do. You're going to do what you have to do for that child. But I said, given the choice, the least the hospital could have done was sat this family down with medical professionals and let them know the risk and let them know the chances of that child being basically, special needs. And I'm not talking about just like a little bit of Down syndrome or, whatever. But this means not being able to walk, not being able to talk, not being able to function, the quality of life. They should have had a choice. And I want to speak to this picture right here. This picture right here is so beautiful of her in this blue dress. And I think that she is pregnant with her first son on this photo. I feel like the media is flashing this photo every chance they get because they are trying to manipulate the public, trying to make it look like she's further along than she really was. But y'all keep in mind, she was 9 weeks when she was declared brain. They have kept her on life support through this entire duration. She is now at 22 weeks.
She's not there, but the baby's there.
April Newkirk says her daughter was declared brain dead on February 19th. Adriana was 8 weeks pregnant.
We wanted to know if she was to abort, would she have a chance at her life? And they said there was no chance or no hope.
In Georgia, the state's heartbeat law bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected.
So at that point, we continued with the pregnancy that we didn't have a choice or a say about. And I just want to be clear on something. We want her to have her baby. We want her life to continue throughout her children. But at the same time, to see her lay there like that, for that length of time, the grieving process for us, it can't even start. Because every time we go, we grieve and we hurt. And it's just unreal. It's unreal for anyone to go through this.
April says they named her daughter's baby Chance.
Because to me, he's getting a second chance.
Despite his mom's condition,
the baby is the right weight, a little bit over, which is a good sign. He has his legs, his toes, his limbs. Heartbeat is good and strong. It's just maybe because of the loss of consciousness with my daughter, the lack of oxygen that the baby didn't get. So that's where the cerebellum comes into place.
Baby Chance's future is still uncertain.
So the journey is for baby Chance to survive, and whatever condition God allows him to come here in, we're going to love him just the same, and we're going to embrace him.
Y'all, this is just so sad and heartbreaking. You can just see the mom and her emotional roller coaster that she's going through. This is just heartbreaking. And I just wanted to go ahead and play a couple of videos from TikTok of some people who's weighing in. Of course, there's a lot of outrage. And I want to just play some clips of a doctor basically explaining to us how it works when you're on life support and all of the energy and all of the time and all of the monitoring and the machines that goes into trying to keep your organs and your body functioning while you're brain dead, because of course you cannot do it because you're brain dead. So let's go ahead and get into what these creators on TikTok had to say.
So it would seem to me that the pro-forced birth movement has no idea the incredible amount of effort it takes to keep a brain-dead body functioning. From the comments I've been getting and the DMs I've been getting, I think y'all think that the patient is just sleeping, and that's not the case. So as a doctor who takes care of brain-dead patients in the hospital, I'm going to talk to you about what's actually involved in that process to help dispel some of these misconceptions. And if you happen to be pro-choice and are watching this video, make sure you share it far and wide so it gets to the intended audience, okay? Let's get started. So once a patient is declared brain, which is an entirely separate process that I'm not going to get into, but after that process takes place, the medical team now has to take over all of the bodily functions that the patient can no longer take care of themselves because their brain doesn't function anymore. So one of those things is breathing. Now, all these patients will already have a breathing tube down their throat and hooked up to a ventilator. However, we can't keep that breathing tube in permanently, right? After 2 weeks, we have to take it out because it can cause a lot of issues. So what we'll do is make a surgical airway. We'll make an incision in the throat right here and put in a tracheostomy tube and then hook that up to the ventilator. And then the ventilator does all the breathing for the patient, and we can adjust it as needed. How many breaths they take, how deep those breaths are, how much oxygen they get, etc. We're also responsible for maintaining the homeostatic balance within the body because the brain can no longer do that. That means giving medications to make sure things like the temperature, blood pressure, and heart rate don't go too high or too low. We maintain it in a normal range. There's often a lot of hormonal imbalances that come in patients with brain death. For example, one of them is something known as central diabetes insipidus. So that's the patient can no longer absorb water from their kidneys, so they just put out liters and liters and liters of very dilute urine, and they become very dehydrated, and their sodium levels start to rise. So we have to artificially hydrate them and give them a hormone known as desmopressin to help reverse this. And obviously these patients can't eat, they can't swallow, they can't chew, so we have to put a PEG tube, which is a feeding tube, in their stomach and hook them up to tube feeds and then give them their nutrition that way. And these patients require tons and tons of round-the-clock nursing care just to take care of the things that you would take for granted, like brushing your teeth, cleaning yourself. Every time they have a bowel movement, they need to be cleaned. They need to have lubricating eye drops put in so that their eyes don't dry and they get corneal ulcers. So those are just some of the basic things we have to do every single day just to keep the body functioning, let alone the myriad of complications that can arise from being bedbound and brain dead in an intensive care unit. So what are those complications? Well, infection is a big one. And, depending on the medical devices the patient has can inform their infectious risk. So, for example, if they have a central line for medications, they can get a central line infection and a bloodstream infection. If they have a Foley catheter for, bladder decompression, they can get a urinary tract infection. But a lot of these patients will get what's known as a ventilator-associated pneumonia, which, as the name suggests, is a pneumonia because the patient's on a ventilator. And they're going to keep getting those pneumonias. And every time they get a new pneumonia, there's a risk for breeding a multi-drug resistant bacterial infection, and we have to use stronger and stronger antibiotics every time. And the stronger the antibiotic, the more likely there will be side effects. And then we have to treat those side effects as well with more medications. And even with the best nursing care and the best occupational and physical therapy, the body is going to start to break down because all the artificial support we give is no substitute for just normal bodily processes. So the skin will start to break down and ulcerate and get infected. The limbs will start to atrophy, the muscles will atrophy, the limbs will start to contract, and this can go on for years if the patient's underlying health status was good before they became brain dead. Now, I know this is a long video, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But the thing is, sometimes patients' families want this for their loved one, and we will honor their wishes. We will do it. We have the capability, we have the technology, and this is why we went into medicine, to help people, to help families. But there are families who don't want this. They don't want to see their loved one suffer like this. So they withdraw care, and all that stuff that I just said, we just stop and allow the bodily processes to cease. But the important thing is, we honor the family's wishes. And that's what I don't think you're getting right here. The family in Georgia does not want this, but they're forced to do it because of the law that you championed. So I hope this video helped.
Oh, and just so we're clear, Adriana Smith, the woman in Georgia that's being used as a against the family's wishes because of that bullshit ass heartbeat bill, she's not being kept alive. She's bed. She's not in a coma. She is. Doctors say it might not even survive. And if it does, it's most likely going to have a bunch of health problems. When she died, she was only 8 weeks pregnant. That's not even considered a fetus yet. Even in death, they want to control our bodies. They won't even let us die with dignity and peace. And to the people saying this is a blessing from God, no, this is sick, twisted people playing God. There is nothing pro-life about this. This should not be happening, period. This is quite literally out of the Handmaid's Tale. This happens in the show. This should not be celebrated. This is highly disturbing and fucked up on so many levels. And I feel so bad for this woman's family. That is all. Like I said, you guys, this is the saddest story that I've heard this year. One of the saddest stories that I've heard this year. I have so many questions, y'all. My prayers and my thoughts and my heart goes out to Adriana's family, her mother, her boyfriend, her son, all of her loved ones. I'm just praying for their strength through this process. And I really do hope that, something happens. I really do hope. I wish the hospital can be prosecuted, but I looked it up. I don't think they can be, because I was thinking maybe they can get a restraining order or something, but they can't. But for these doctors in this hospital to take it upon themselves to do this and misconstrue this law for whatever reason that they're doing it for, I feel like it's something sinister behind it. People are insinuating that they are using her as an experiment. And let's be real, this isn't new. Black women's bodies have been controlled, used, and experimented on since we were brought to this country. Stolen and brought to this country. From the so-called father of gynecology, experimented on enslaved women without anesthesia, to Serena Williams almost losing her life in the hospital because nobody believed her pain. This system never truly protected us, y'all. And what makes things even worse and hurtful is Adriana was a nurse. And I think that she was a nurse at this hospital. I'm not for sure. But she went to the hospital and she told them people something was not right. Something was wrong. And even her boyfriend intervened and told them to keep her. And they still sent her home with some, a mild prescription probably. A nurse. They sent a nurse home who came up in there telling them something's wrong with her. Something ain't right. You don't think that as a nurse she don't know her own body? You don't think that her daily work is not knowing the human body? And they still sent this girl home after she told them something ain't right. Took her back to the hospital, found that she had blood clots in her brain and couldn't do nothing about it now. Declared her brain dead. This is so heartbreaking and so freaking frustrating. Black people, especially Black women, have been ignored and dismissed in the medical field for generations. This woman was a freaking nurse, and even that didn't protect her. That really speaks volumes. And I've heard people give stories like, you know what? If I wouldn't have gone back, I would have been dead. If I wouldn't have demanded a CT scan, I would have been dead. If I didn't demand an MRI, my condition would have been worse than it. You know what I'm saying? I've even experienced that. And then to keep her on life support for all this time with her family not having a say to incubate this baby, y'all, something ain't right. Something is not right, you guys. And whoever, we have to advocate for ourselves when we go to the hospital. I don't care what we do, act a fool, let them call security. Go to another hospital if that's the case. If they don't want to treat you at that hospital, leave and go somewhere else. But advocate for yourself. If you feel like something ain't right, you make sure that hospital does every due diligence to make you feel at ease before you go home. I work in a hospital, and I always tell the patients to advocate for yourself. If you feel something deep down in your soul that something is not right with your body, do not go home and lay your damn head down. Go to another hospital and get tested and be protected, because you may not even wake up. Seriously, we have to advocate for ourselves. Especially in the emergency room. Sometimes patients be intimidated by doctors. Hell, sometimes the staff be intimidated by doctors. You never know. But let me tell you one thing. We are here to work for you. If it wasn't for patients, these hospitals would not be in business. Tell these people something is not right and I feel like you're dismissing me. Is there anything else that you can do? And if you do not do it, I want you to document this in my chart, in my medical chart, saying that you refused to give me an MRI. You refused to take blood work like I requested. You refused to give me an x-ray like I requested. So that if anything happens to you or your family member, you have that on file so that you can file a claim for medical malpractice. 100% do not be intimidated by these doctors. Don't be intimidated by this staff. And if you feel like they are not taking care of you, leave. Go to another hospital. And as a matter of fact, see if they can call you an ambulance to get you to another hospital. Not only are these people taking over this woman's body against her own will, they're making her family pay for it. If this ain't crazy, I don't know what's going on with the state of Georgia. If this is not crazy, I don't know what is. Like, I have so many questions, y'all. I have so many questions. But let me go ahead and end this video right here because... And like I said earlier, I am praying for Adriana's family's strength. This has to be so hard, and I wish a judge can step in and intervene. But if they did want to, stop this, they still want to see if the baby's going to make it now that the baby's further along. You know what I mean? What do you do? But there is a guarantee that, well, there's no guarantee because God has the last say. I'm hoping that this baby is born a miracle. With no mental illness, no physical illness, no mental challenges, no physical challenges. God has the last say, and I'm praying because this is going to be so heartbreaking that they sat up here and left this woman on life support to incubate this baby just for the baby to not survive. This family and the mental anguish and the emotional distress, man, I'm just praying for them. But thank you guys so much for watching this video and spending your time with me today. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to share this video so that we get the word out and everybody is aware of what's going on. And thank you guys again. Peace.